Uh, First, before we begin, I want to apologize for last week due to the nature of my. All right, I can reckon we're live now. All right, so before we begin, I want to apologize for last week's mid-video interruption due to the nature of my job. I can be interrupted really at any time. So if we do get interrupted and I have to end the live video, I will record the rest of it and then kind of join the two parts of the video and put it up and post it on YouTube. And any resources that I mention, I will also post a link on YouTube. So at the end, stay tuned and I will post the link to the video. So today's topic, we are going to be discussing something that we have become all too comfortable with. And that is debt. And we've just become far too comfortable with the idea of owing people money. Now, when I say debt, I don't mean your day-to-day bills like your phone bill, your cable bill, things like that. I'm talking about things like student loans, bank loans, anything like that. Where you have an end to the debt period. So allow me to come out right now and give you the thesis for my talk today, for my discussion. Debt is evil. The Bible doesn't exactly call it a sin, but in numerous verses it does call it evil, slavery, things like that. So first, let's discuss the fact that the Bible does in fact call debt slavery. And we're going to start off with Proverbs 22:7. That may be a famous verse that we're familiar with. And the borrower is a slave to the lender. And that's pretty much all you can really say about it. When we are in debt, we owe basically everything to the lender that gave us the money. In the Old Testament times, according to the ancient laws of the day, you could be sold into slavery if you couldn't repay your debt. Now, granted, the Mosaic law gave relief after 7 years, for the forgiveness of debts, but that still doesn't negate the fact that until those 7 years are up, you're still a slave because you borrowed and couldn't repay. Speaking of not repaying, Psalm 37:21 says that the wicked borrow and do not repay. Romans 13:8 tells us that we should owe nothing to anyone except love. What makes debt? One of the things that makes debt so wrong, so evil, is the fact that we, as I've said before, stewardship is being able to manage our resources, or the resources that God has given to us for the furthering of His kingdom. And the more money we have tied up in debt, the less money we have available to be able to further God's kingdom. You know, and like I said, we've just gotten too comfortable with being in debt. Student loans, car loans, borrowing money from people, unsecured loans, this loan, that loan, the other loan. We've just become too comfortable with it. We've forgotten how not to be in debt. Basically, we live in an economy that is entirely based on debt. We've forgotten how to be thrifty. A while back, I came across a book by a historian, David M. Tucker, and I apologize if I don't know any more information about him. But it's The Decline of Thrift in America: Our Cultural Shift from Saving to Spending. And he makes the same point that I have, that we've forgotten how to be thrifty. Instead of excuse me. We have to have the latest and the greatest. We have to keep up with the Joneses. In order to do that, all too often we go into debt. I can't, and forgive me for not remembering the commercial and what it was for, but I do remember a commercial where this guy is talking about how good his life is, his nice house, his beautiful cars, all these things that he has, and at the end he's saying, with a big old smile on his face, "I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. Please help me." And that's the honest truth. We've leveraged our selves up to our eyeballs in debt in order to pay for all these nice things. And like I said, and like what I guess it was Dr. Tucker back in the day. Again, I apologize for not having more information on him. I can't find anything on him on the internet. But we've forgotten how to be thrifty. We'd rather go spend $1,000. I'm sorry. We'd rather go to these rental places and agree to spend $1,000 for a $400 sofa instead of scouring Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or the want ads or the classified ads to find a cheap used sofa. We'll go into debt not only for a sofa, but for we'll sign up for a department store credit card to pay for the fancy clothes. We'll sign up for home improvement store credit cards to pay for the latest and the greatest washing machines instead of scouring the classifieds for things like 50 of buying a cheap old beater and then saving up what we would normally pay for a new car, putting that into a bank and letting that build up for a new car. We'd rather go into debt just right then and there. Same thing with student loans, and this is something I'm guilty of. Instead of not only am I taking advantage of grants and and scholarships and things like that. In addition to those, I also took out student loans, where I probably should have, agreed to a payment plan. I know that the payment plan is still debt, but it's instead of paying all the interest to the student loan companies, I'm paying it directly to the. I would be paying it directly to the college. But the simple thing is, we should be smarter with the money that God gives us, with the resources that God gives us. There's just so many ways that we can avoid going into debt. And yes, it does take sacrifice. but we would much rather be comfortable in debt than be uncomfortable out of it. Once again, we've just forgotten how to be thrifty. So, excuse me. Back to Proverbs 22, verse 9. A generous person will be blessed, for he shares his food with the poor. We can't be generous if we're in debt up to our eyeballs, like that commercial says. And I'll try to find that commercial and post it in the comments to the YouTube video. So let's take a closer. The point is, we need to take a closer look on what we're going into debt for. Realize that we cannot be generous with our money if we're giving it to all these other lenders. So let's keep that in mind. Go with God, y'all.